Hi there, I'm Brad from Audio T. I have travelled today to Essex, to the wonderful home of Ruark Audio, and I'm joined by Alan O'Rourke, founder, managing director of Ruark.
Hello, Brad.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, yeah.
Sadly, it's not that sunny outside. I thought I'd come to Southend-on-Sea and it would be really
Southend.
Sunny Southend.
Not today, I'm afraid.
False advertisement, right.
Yeah.
So there we go. So, you know, a lot of Audio T's customers will know Ruark because it's a brand that's been around for a long time. They might have seen it in places like John Lewis, on high street shops as well.
Yeah.
But they might not appreciate the history and the prestige behind Ruark as a company.
Yep.
So why don't you start a little bit by telling us how it all started? Like, because obviously this all started with you and your dad.
Yeah, a long time ago. I think it would have been, I was guessing, in the early 1980s. But to cut a long story short, my dad was a cabinet maker. He started off, and I guess I just sort of grew up. He's originally making furniture, but very early on he got involved with the early days of the fledgling hi-fi industry, UK hi-fi industry, which was at the time growing and growing. People like Bush, Hacker Radio, Dynatron, they were the early, and then people like Wolfdale were there. And he started making cabinets for these guys, and that gave him the enthusiasm. I suppose he became a very early hi-fi enthusiast himself, and he'd bring these cabinets home from work, and we would, you know, put them together in his garage, put different drive units in and things like that. And it became a bit of a hobby, so we were sort of DIYers as well, sort of in building our own hi-fi. In those days, you could build hi-fi like amplifier kits.
Yeah.
And you could do the whole thing. And I remember the early days of stereo when it came in. You know, you'd have like Concord taking off in your lounge, and the Flying Scotsman rumbling through. And so it stuck really. You know, I grew up with it. I loved it. He eventually broke away, set up another company we had before Ruark called Diasis. That didn't really, some people may remember that. He had a moderate success with that. Unfortunately, he didn't quite have the wherewithal business-wise so that sort of unfortunately failed. But together we set up Ruark in 1985.
Year before I was born.
Wow. Okay.
But and if I'm right, it was actually a set of bookshelf speakers that you guys had.
We had the Ruark Sabre.
Yep.
And the Ruark Broadsword.
Right.
And they were the first two models, and we spent quite a bit of time refining them and developing them. And literally, it was just a case of we had this little workshop in Rayleigh where we used to go together, make these speakers up.
Yeah.
And then we used to put them in the back of our car and drive out around the country, you know, visiting dealers, demonstrating them. And
the old days of the sort of door-to-door salesman.
Yeah. I mean, Audio T would have been one of them back there, or 80 Labs, I think it was called back then. 80 Labs, I'm sure it was 80 Labs. Oh no, it's Absolute Sound and Video.
Yeah, I think with Audio T, there's a lot of different names, because obviously it had a lot of different arms and branches that all conglomerated together to become Audio T.
That's right. Yeah.
But obviously with the Sabre, that was the smaller of the two speakers.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And am I right in thinking that the idea was to try and get something that sounded like the big speakers, but confined to a smaller space?
Yeah, absolutely. And also because I think we very quickly gained a sort of reputation for the quality of our cabinetry. Because we you know, my dad in particular, being a furniture maker, he sort of realised that to get the products into people's homes, you had to look nice. So we fairly quickly got a reputation for making stuff that sounded good, but also looked good as well. So we go the extra mile in terms of the cabinet design, the internal construction with bracing and damping and things like that. So the Sabre and the Broadsword were the first two, and you know, we got some good dealers behind us, and then we introduced this big three-way system called the Ruark Accolade, which is a big floor stander. I think at the time that was £2,500, which was a lot of money.
Would have been a lot of money,
back then. But that brought success, and from that we also started getting export inquiries. So within a few years we had a good UK market, and we were exporting particularly to the Far East. You know, it was so we had a really good run. We had the Talisman, Talisman and the Crusader were popular speakers for us. And that was back in the day when, when we started vinyl, it was all about, turntables.
Yep.
And then, of course, CDs came along.
Yeah.
And everyone's saying CDs doesn't sound as good as vinyl, and it it doesn't. I mean,
it's the age-old debate, isn't it? Analog versus digital, and
yes,
I think that's something that you're never going to answer. But it's I'm a big vinyl enthusiast.
Yes,
we all appreciate vinyl, but obviously before we delve into that, because I think that's a separate thing altogether. Am I right in thinking that you, as a brand, have a bit of history with Audio T? In that it was one of the first dealers to, or as you say, through one of its many different faceted brand names at the time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, when we built up a bit of money behind us, we started doing the Audio T shows, as it were back then, down in Bristol. Yeah. And that was one of the major events of the year, really. Yeah. You had the Hi-Fi News show in Heathrow, sort of thing, and you had the Bristol show. Yeah. 2 major shows, really, and we got involved with that. So every February, we'd get the van packed and we'd trundle down to Bristol, and it was just great being able to set up in these, the hotel rooms. You would dress the room, make it look good, but to meet your customers and to hear people's comments and things like that, get a good feedback.
I suppose, obviously, for Ruark as a brand, that's quite important because, if we bring it forward now to products like we've got here, the original R1 and the latest incarnation of it, these are lifestyle products. The core element of music's still there, the musicality of the product, but When was it that you guys made the move from bookshelf speakers to these all-encompassing music systems?
I guess, really, that started... The real crux was when hi-fi was strong, probably until the late 1990s. Yeah. And then the focus started to turn towards vision. Yeah. So people really were turning away from, I said this before, when I think Hitachi or Panasonic launched their first plasma TV, I remember it being about £6,000 for a 42-inch plasma TV. Yeah. And they were selling shed loads, lots of them. Yeah. Because I think the thing is that it was cool. You say to your brother-in-law, look what I bought, sort of thing. Yeah. You've got this 42-inch plasma flat panel TV on your wall, and that was cool. And I think that. And whereas if you said to somebody you spent £6,000 on a pair of speakers, they think you were or a hi-fi, so they think you were crazy. Yeah. So I think then we noticed a turn, and then the focus started to get more on vision. It wasn't just about a pair of speakers; it was about having multiple speakers in your environment. And speakers started to get smaller and smaller, and then you had these speaker packages, and we just noticed there was a turn in the market, but the BBC had been pushing DAB, going from analog to digital broadcasting. Yeah. And we just thought it'd be a nice idea to develop a really good quality radio. I'd always loved radio. I'd always been, right from a kid, playing with my grandmother's radiogram, going through the stations, and just loved it. Radio Caroline, all the pirate stations. So we just thought it would be good to develop a little high-quality radio that we could sell through our hi-fi dealers. Yeah. And at the same time, we thought it would be good because it would bring people, something in the window that would get people in. So in essence, the R1 is a little high-fidelity speaker. Yeah. So it's a proper little cabinet, a high-fidelity drive in it, with a hi-fi quality amplifier inside and tuner. And really, I suppose what was interesting with it is that suddenly we weren't only appealing to hi-fi enthusiasts, it just opened our market. People started to get comments from customers buying it because it looked nice. Yeah. But then they'd get it home and say, wow, this really sounds good too. And our intention initially was to keep on with both the radio side of the business and the hi-fi side. But this very quickly took over. So we followed the course of least resistance, and so the range, and that was about 2004 when we started to develop this. Right. and we launched the company in 2006. Initially, we called it Vita Audio because the idea was to keep the two brands separate. So Ruark was our hi-fi side, Vita was going to be. The reason we didn't carry on with Vita was because when we tried to properly register the brand name, there was all sorts of complications with Vita antibiotics and lots of, we suddenly found there's lots of Vitas out there, and we wanted to register the name properly, and so we decided to drop that and we came fully back to Ruark.
Which I think is a fantastic idea because obviously there are a lot of speakers that would look like this on the market. There's a lot of brands out there that do that. Some might argue it's an oversaturated area, but what you do is create lifestyle speakers and solutions for the home with a heritage and a prestige of a British hi-fi manufacturer behind it.
Yeah, that's it.
Which you don't get from your sort of equivalents like, you know, well, we won't say the B word.
No,
we don't say the B word. No. But, you know, it's something that you don't get. And I think something that I would say from my own personal listening experience with the Ruark speakers is you don't get that overly compressed, overly saturated sound that you do from your competitors.
Yes.
It is more open and airy with a nice soundstage. And you listen, you're like, how are you getting this sound from such a small box? And I'll admit, when the first lockdown hit, I was working in one of the shops, running the online store, dispatching all the orders. So if you ordered online, thank you very much. And I was listening to music through an R1 the whole time. And I was blown away. You know, I had the option of so many different solutions in that shop, but I just popped an R1 on my desk and it was fantastic, you know, being able to jump between the radio and then Spotify or Tidal or whatever, you know.
When we first did the R1, I took one of the early prototypes home and I was just listening to it. I was doing some work on the computer and I'm sort of listening and thinking, and really just perhaps, as we were saying a little while ago, for the first time, really listening to the music, rather than listening to the sound, just really enjoying, because it was natural, it wasn't forced, and there was I thought there was some bass coming out. I think this is really nice to listen to.
Yeah.
It was easy. I guess it was because it was easy to listen to. You were not listening to the hi-fi, you were listening to the music. But I think that, you know, I mean, but the same goes now, you know, we make products, I've always said this, we make products that we want to own ourselves.
Yeah.
So unless we're completely happy with it, so the products we make, even with the speakers, it was just that okay, we're going to do a 2-way, 3-way, you know, but it's got to be this, it's got to sound good, it's, you know, so unless we were completely happy with it, we wouldn't, you know, I would never say we've been a commercial company in terms of just churning products out.
So it's safe to say that music has, you know, without sounding cheesy and cliche, but music has been the core for the brand ethos.
Yes, yeah.
And obviously we spoke briefly before, and you're a guitarist,
yes,
you know, so you appreciate music from behind the instrument and also in front of it as well. And, you know, as someone that plays guitar really badly, it's something that, you know.
Sounds good these days.
Yeah, well, we won't jam, don't worry, we're not going to do that. It's one of those things that obviously you do listen to and analyse music in a very different way. And would you say some of that influence has gone into the production of the products as well?
I think definitely. I think definitely working with real instruments and working with other people and listening, we have a pretty good idea of what things should sound like. You know, and I think, and even with the speakers, so much went into it is that, you know, I said like, what makes, say, a Martin guitar, you know, sound, or a Fender Gibson sound like, you know, you can get another acoustic guitar. I think acoustic guitars are a good analogy because you can pick up, they look identical, but you pick up one and strum it, a cheaper one.
Yeah.
But you pick up, say, a Martin or something, and it's just got that timbre about it that you. I think it
is a good analogy because obviously, you know, when you're talking about brands like Martin, Fender, Gibson, Taylor, they are, for the most part, handmade in the countries of origin, so America and so forth. And when you pick out some of the cheaper ones, arguably some of the cheaper Fender acoustics, things like that, they can often be made in the Far East. Yeah. And there is a craftsmanship that goes into a product, not to say that products that are made in the Far East is bad, because obviously that's where half the world's made.
Where we are,
but, you know, that's where we are. it's obviously the conditions they're made in and the materials that go into it, but the core element, the driving force behind it has to be the ethos and where you come from.
Yes,
You know, that hi-fi element and that appreciation and understanding of sound and music.
I think it's knowing how to put things together. I mean, I think it's like, you know, the guys, the good acoustics, they know the materials, they know the woods, the combinations to use. It's the same with, you know, this product is a recipe. So it's not necessarily about, it's knowing how to blend those ingredients together to get the sound that you want. You know, so it's so we've used always up till now we've always used analog amplifiers because we like the sound of analog. It adds some warmth to it. Some of the new digital amps that are coming through now are getting much better, and I think unfortunately we are going to probably be forced down the digital route. Because with power consumption, standbys and things like this, it may be that, you know, some of these older technologies are going to be phased out as we're seeing everywhere now.
Which, you know, is understandable. These things have to move with the times. But I think one of the, going back to something that I touched on briefly, which is you are a lifestyle manufacturer. These products are made to sit in every room of the home. You know, the amount of kitchens that must have a R1 or living rooms or garages, whatever, you know, how is it that you, because from what I understand from watching some of your other interviews, it's about 2 years, the process from start to finish to design and construction and everything. How do you stay ahead of the curve with designs? Because obviously this is a very contemporary design. The wooden grille on the front's fantastic. You can tell that this was obviously a child of the sort of early to mid noughties because of its design, whereas this is very much in keeping with now. How do you sort of look at the next trend and realise what you're going to do?
I think you just absorb. And I like looking through, you know, architectural magazines, you know, interiors. I like looking at cars. I mean, I'm looking at the materials they use inside cars, you know, dashboards and things like that, and looking at where it's going. And I think you just pick up these things, and I think definitely at the moment we're going through a bit of a mid-century
100%
renaissance. You know, looking around, this is our new reception area, and we've decorated it with the column radiators, and it's something you just pick up on. But rather than copying, we try and take a new take on it. So it is mid-century, but it's just added a bit of modernity to it, I guess.
Modernisation? Modernity. We can invent a new word for this. That's exactly what it is.
It's brought it up to date, I think really. So there's a lot of this at the moment. There's a lot of people talking about retro. I think the thing at the moment is that what we're seeing now is that there was some fantastic design, like Eames and that in the 1950s. And good design lasts forever. You know, I mean, look at a classic 911, the Porsche and the Mini. They're all designs which are okay. You can see it straight away. You see it's a Mini. But they just brought it up to date.
It's just slight tweaks and adjustments for the modern age. And, you know, as we talk about like changes in materials and manufacturing processes, something that a lot of people really look for now in their products is sustainability. Would you say that Ruark as a company, is that something that is a conscious thought, or?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, in terms of the packaging, we're looking at sort of totally recyclable. In terms of the products, you know, everything has to be FSC certified in terms of the wood, materials, things like that. But I think that, you know, more than anything else, I think, you know, we're making products which we hope are going to last, you know, 10, 20 years. You know, and this is one thing we look at in terms of technology, you know, we put tried and tested technology in terms of, you know, platforms like Spotify. And that's going to be around, but also having things like auxiliary inputs on the back. So if a new technology comes along which isn't built in, you can still, you know, with an adapter, plug it in and include it.
It's something that I quite like about your products is that they still have the analog connectivity. You know, a lot of people have just completely skimmed all of that from there in favour of things like Bluetooth. But you know, you can pretty much connect your products to anything, which
Yes.
is,
Yeah.
you know, bearing in mind you're one of the few hi-fi manufacturers not making turntables, which is, you know, given the revival of things, it's...
We've never, I mean, people said that to me, why don't we, but there's plenty of people doing it very well. I don't think we've always, even did speakers, we reluctantly started made some subwoofers.
Yeah.
But we worked together with a local company that actually made subwoofer modules, and we developed it together. It wasn't something at the time we were speakers. Now we do what we do now. It's we want to concentrate on making this better and better.
And I think that's right. You know, and with that in mind, talking about the range of products available, arguably, you've probably got one of the smallest catalogues of products going, even when you take into account the different finishes.
Yes, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we don't, I mean, and I think we're very conscious of that as well, that we wanted something where, and it's working for us, but when people buy an R1, they then go and buy an R2 or an R3. R2's coming, there's all new R2 coming soon. It's
exclusive. We might even get a look at one, who knows?
But, so there's logical steps up throughout the range, and we know it's great that people buy an R1 for their kitchen or their bedroom, and they like it, so they go and buy an R5 for their living room, and things like that. So
or the R7,
or the R7,
which I know is a flagship product, but that takes on that that is like the embodiment of the mid-century sort of radiograph, isn't it? Radiograph, like it's the modern.
I mean, that was something. I mean, that was a project of mine when we first came up with the idea. Was this idea to recreate the radiogram and to have something that's just a piece of furniture, because that's what the radiogram used to be. I mean, before, people had pianos in the front room, but then pianos were, unfortunately, a lot of them were thrown out and smashed up. I think we were traded, but then they were replaced with radiograms.
Yeah.
You know, and then the radiogram became the what do you call it, the stereo system, I suppose, really. Then separates. And I guess where we are now, we are seeing this sort of now. Our ranges are primarily all-in-ones.
Yeah.
But we do have plans, perhaps in the future, to do a system with separate speakers again.
Yeah.
Go with that, and it all goes full circle.
Yeah, absolutely.
It evolves, and it's. But I think that there is we think that there's you see that with the name Unity.
Yeah.
Lovely products. But yet again, perhaps a product that with separate speakers, you can plug a turntable into it, and we're getting back into that hi-fi system thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you mentioned the name Unity, which is something that can multi-room with their other products.
Yes, yeah.
The same can be done with Ruark and your products. So there's that flexibility moving forward that you can have that multi-room functionality.
Yes.
Do you think that if you were to do a separate system, that you'd always have that core element of everything's got to be able to connect to it, and your other products would be able to connect to it? Or do you think you'd go for the standalone route? Or
I think there'd be a link. So if you wanted, for instance, if you had a sort of this is a dream for the future. This is not going to happen. This is for a good few years yet, because our product plan, our product plan goes like 2 or 3 years ahead. But I think that this interconnectivity. So if you had another product of this range in another room, you could link them together. Yeah. How many people really use multi-room? I'm not sure. It's I do. I mean, we have an R5 in my dining room. I have one of our MRX speakers in the kitchen. Yeah. And I quite like the fact I can link the two together.
Yeah, of course.
So when I'm wandering between the dining room and the kitchen, you can keep that sound balance between the two. We haven't got it right throughout the house. No. I'm not sure but that's just...
No, some people I think do, and they're obviously more popular than me because they have parties and they have people over, and I don't do any of that. I sit in the one room and listen to music, or me and the wife will be in the kitchen cooking and listening to music. But one thing that you don't have on any of your products at the moment is voice control. Yeah. Do you feel that voice control is something that will stick around, or do you think it's something that we're all interested in now? And
no interest in it at all. Not for our products. Anyway.
But that's fair enough.
I think that there will be an element in the future that perhaps you'll be able to, if you've got a voice control unit, you will be able to talk to it and say, hey, turn on my whatever in the kitchen and play me some jazz or something like that element, but we're not interested in building it in, because I think, yet again, it's a technology, as I said earlier, that will date. If you build this technology in, you know, you can buy these voice control units for like 30, 40 quid. So it's easy to put it in the wee bin. But it's, yet again, I think we just need to get away from this constant throwing things away, because
disposable technology.
Disposable technology. Yes. You know, I think, you know, product like this. I mean, we're now, so the original R1 we launched in 2006, so we're now 16 years old. Yeah. And we know that they're all still going strong. Yeah. And people are using them every day. They come down and put the kettle on, put their R1 on. It's the first thing they do in the morning. They tell us that all the time.
I know that we've, the Audio T have customers that are building on something that they would have bought, like the R1, as we said previously. Buy the R1, then you move up to the other models. So that is nice. That there's, I think what I like is that there are a range of products that are accessible to a lot of different audiences. Yes. You know, they don't. It's not ultra technical, so it disparages the older community. It's not stuffy and lifeless, so it stops younger people getting involved to it.
Yes,
You know, you sell the little stereo speakers.
Yes, the MR1s.
The MR1s,
They've
which
been really popular.
You know, they're a hugely popular system for us. Like we get a lot of customers buying, say, for example, a Riga 1 Plus.
Yes,
and going those. That's a perfect combination. And it's interesting because Riga is literally a stone throw away
just
from
up the road there.
They're literally,
right.
You know, I think I've got past them on my way home.
You will.
So it's, you know, and again, it goes back to that companies doing things either better or specialising in a system and a way of doing things. And you know that's the beauty of your product. You can combine it with other systems to an extent. So you know, but do you think there's going to be any big advancements coming from Ruark in the near future? Anything that you can talk about?
Nothing at the moment, no. Nothing today. I mean, unfortunately, because of the lockdown. I mean, because we have got stuff in development, which we're very excited about. But too early, that should have come probably this year. Yeah. But because of the component shortages, it's a real frustration at the moment. We just, you know, as we said, developments aren't taking 2 years, they're taking 3 or 4 years at the moment, because until you get that final piece of the jigsaw, you can't finish it. And so
don't worry too much, because you're having a lot of building work going on at the moment.
Yes.
New demo rooms and everything being sorted. So I'm going to come back.
Yes.
Because you've got the brewery down the road as well,
we have,
which you have a lot of relationship with. I will be back, don't worry. And we'll probably do a little factory tour when you're all set up. And,
absolutely.
And then we can finish it with a pint.
Then we can show the new products. So
there we go.
There may be a surprise at the Bristol show in 2023.
And for those of you that don't know, the Bristol Hi-Fi show is Audio T's baby. So we haven't been able to have it for the last couple of years with everything that's been going on in the world. And fingers crossed, we'll be back for 2023. Yeah. And you'll be there.
We will be there.
Will you be there in person?
I will be there in person.
Will you be signing people's R1s for them? And,
if they want me to.
Bring your Sharpies and your R1s, and you can get a signed, personalised one. Well, Alan, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
It's you know, it's lovely to be here, and it's great to see behind the scenes of the products. And as I say, I'll come back when it's all finished and
be great.
Be great. Set up.
You're welcome anytime.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yes,
well, thank you very much, and thanks again for watching. As always, I've been Brad, Alan, and behind the camera is David, your son, who's very kindly been filming this for us.
Yes,
He's doing a fantastic job. Next Spielberg, so
he's
watch out for him.
He's got to edit it next.
He's got to, that's it, yeah. We might just be...
Make us look really more handsome.
Yeah, we didn't have wardrobe and makeup, so do your magic, David. And thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to Audio T and Ruark's YouTube channels, and we'll see you soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Brad.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Bye now.